English story. The Code of Patches. Once, there was a man named Chaim Yankel. He lived with his family in a small hut at the edge of the woods. It had not rained much that summer, and farmers could not grow food, so famine swept across the land. The family was in terrible trouble. "I can't let my wife and 6 children starve," worried Chaim. Finally, he determined that he had to take a desperate step. Chaim calmly sat down with his family. "I'm a good worker, and I can do any job," he said. "However, there are no jobs available here. So, I'm going out into the world. I will travel far and wide, and I will accept any job that pays even a penny. When I return, I promise that I will be rich. We will all have fine clothes and we live in an enormous house. We will enjoy a banquet every night." Chaim set out the next morning, taking nothing but the coat he wore. He walked and walked for many miles until he reached another village. Chaim went to every house and he asked whether there was any work for him. There was none. Finally, when he reached the lamb's house, he knocked on the door and the man answered. "Excuse me, sir," Chaim said. "I need work. Is there anything you need?" "Can you dig a well?" replied the man. "Absolutely," said Chaim confidently. Chaim worked all day, and when he finished, the man was extremely generous. He paid Chaim with silver coins. Chaim knew he had to be careful because he could lose the money or be robbed. Suddenly, he had a fantastic idea. Chaim hurried into town, changed his coins into paper money, and placed the money inside his coat. Then he sewed a patch over it so that no one could see the money. Meanwhile, Chaim kept walking, and at each village, he made a little more money. Each time, he sewed the money into his coat. He worked for years until the coat was completely covered with patches. Chaim was rich, and at last, it was time to return home. One day, a man in a patched coat knocked the family's door. They did not recognize him at first, but then his wife cried out in joy because Chaim was home at last. "I have returned with plenty of money, and now I'm going to town to buy food for a delicious feast," Chaim declared. Chaim also had decided to buy a new coat, so he threw the old patches one onto the floor and left. Then the family heard another knock. It was a poor traveler asking for food. Chaim's wife gave him a loaf of bread and some cheese. After all, he knows Who knows how many people had helped him as he wandered? She saw the old page's coat lying on the floor and gave that to the poor man too. I could buy a much nicer coat now anyway. I returned wearing a beautiful new coat. Now it was time to cut the money out of the old one. Where is my past coat? Haim asked. Uh, oh, that old thing? Shrugged his wife. A David trip for traveler. Haim fainted. He came to. He cried. I must get that coat back. Haim ran all the way back to town, found the store and bought a fiddle. Then he took the fiddle and wearing his fancy new coat, he marched around the town, playing and singing at the top of his lungs. People came to the doors of their houses and shops to find out what all the noise was about. I'm a fool, sang Haim. He marched to the village square. A crowd gathered and stirred with curiosity. Some in the crowd recognized him. They noticed his fine coat as well as his strange actions. People whispered that at long last Haim had made his fortune. He had returned home, but he was obviously not well. Haim began to dance in a silly way as he continued to shout, I'm a fool! However, all the while, he kept his eye on the crowd. Finally, his gaze fell on what he had hoped to see. The poor traveler wearing the coat of ashes. Haim marched over to the man and grabbed his hand. Haim dragged him into the middle of the square. Haim put down the fiddle and took off his coat. He twirled the coat in a circle over his head so that everyone could admire the fine silk lining and the silver buttons. Then he shouted, Let's trade coats! The crowd gasped in horror. Why would anyone trade a beautiful new coat for the old patched one? The poor man was certain that Haim was playing a trick on him. But Haim kept insisting. Finally, the poor man was agreeable. He traded coats with Haim. Then the man ran off before Haim could change his mind. Haim put on the old patched coat and danced away from the square. The crowd also drifted away. They shook their heads sadly. Surely this must be proof that Haim was not well. It was indeed a sad sight. Haim raced back home, took off the old coat, and carefully began to cut the patches open. When he had cut open all the patches, Haim picked up the coat and shook it with all his might. But it began to fall out of the patches. The family gasped, and then they began to laugh. Now they understood why he had wanted the coat back. I'm not a fool. Winged Haim, his family agreed, and they all lived happily ever after. Thanks for watching this video till the end.